Hello everyone, and welcome back to Player Profiles. I'm Dom, and today we get the chance to talk to EDG Mako here at the Gaming House. Mako, it's a pleasure to see you again.
大家好，我是 EDG 辅助 Mako。
So Mako, I want to talk to you about how you got started playing League of Legends. In the beginning, did you play any other games than League of Legends?
我刚开始就是玩英雄联盟是因为朋友推荐嘛，然后是12年7月份的时候，然后我之前有玩过就像类似英雄联盟的那种 MOBA 类的游戏，我玩过 DOTA。
When did you realize that you could become a professional in League of Legends? Did you just reach the top of solo queue and begin to think, I can win?
13年底的时候，我觉得我那时候只是说就是在艾欧尼亚嘛，我打到了王者之后，然后跟我经常一起玩的一个双排的朋友，他在北京的一个队伍打职业，然后他邀请了我，我当时也就是想去尝试一下。
What did your friends think? What did your family think of you choosing to try going pro?
当时我家人都是反对的嘛，因为那时候我在上学，然后我选择休学，然后去尝试一下我自己喜欢做的这个职业，他们都是反对。然后我的同学他们有一些是赞同的吧，因为他们觉得去打职业，然后是一件比较酷的事情吧，我觉得，所以说就同学们也就比较羡慕我，当时。
Do you think that this training and meshing with your teammates, these qualities, were what initially attracted Edward Gaming to you? How did EDG then take notice in you?
我觉得还是有帮助的吧，因为我去到那个地方，然后大家都是在好好训练，然后也有一些，因为我刚开始打辅助嘛，队友都在教我很多东西，就是帮助我成长嘛，然后我自己也在努力的训练。然后进入 EDG 的话，是因为一个朋友推荐给阿布，然后阿布再就是引荐我进来。就是那个朋友的话，其实就是吴昕，大家应该知道吧？就前 RNG 的 ADC 吴昕。
So then tell me the process about joining EDG as a rookie in 2015. You're a freshman player starting in your first professional split alongside superstars like Pawn and Deft and Clearlove and Koro. Did they intimidate you at all?
就是那时候在 EDG 有试训有4-5个辅助吧，然后当时就是试训完了，然后他们选择了我和 Mouse。当时进到 EDG 的话，觉得其实压力没有那么大吧。然后我看到4个队友，我觉得他们都特别强，然后只要我就是努力跟上他们的脚步，我觉得就能赢下来很多场比赛。
Was there a specific leader or captain during that time to help guide the team forward, or was it a cumulative team effort of everyone joining together during that time period?
当时有领袖就是明凯嘛，但是他在队伍里就是担任指挥。
Within half a year of you joining Edward Gaming, you won your first split, and then you went to MSI and won MSI. Do you think Edward Gaming expected you to perform so well? What was Edward Gaming's expectations of you?
大家对我的期待可能没有那么高吧，因为我当时刚加入 EDG， 可能我自己实力和各方面都没有那种顶尖辅助那么强嘛。就反过来，可能是我觉得就是我对我们整个队伍有很高的期待，然后我觉得大家都特别强。
轮把打中，
现在防线，
林凯
漂亮，
再来一次泰坦，
还剩2个麻瓜，恭喜 EDG。
In 2016, we began to see some changes to the EDG roster with FireLolly, Athena, and eventually Scout in the mid lane. Did that change how EDG played?
就我觉得当时就是换上了阿兹娜和艾罗丽，那我感觉我们的风格好像一直都没有，那时候没有什么很大的变化吧。
How did communication change on the team without Clearlove when you played with FireLolly?
当时我感觉没有感觉到很大的那种就是沟通上面的问题。
Now in 2018, Clearlove is stepping back from the roster, and we're seeing Haro come in. New players aside, is this a similar communication style to what you had back in 2016 when Clearlove first started stepping back?
我觉得是不一样的吧，因为16年的时候是明凯，那时候只是他休息一段时间，现在的话是完全不同，因为他有很长一段时间没有在比赛，然后就是从17年春季赛开始，就是那时候开始就需要我来就是担任队伍的指挥，去带领大家，我觉得是这样子。
What was that like, trying to take over the mantle of main shot caller for Edward Gaming, the most prestigious organization in the LPL?
当时就是15年我刚来到 EDG 的时候，我是就是什么都不太懂嘛，然后到17年的时候，我觉得是 可能对我自己来说是一个成长，然后是一种升华吧，就是我能担得起，就是队伍这种很大的责任。
Mako, you have 361 games in the LPL, over 3,700 assists currently, the most by far of all supports. There is no doubt you are going to go down as one of the greatest supports of all time. What on earth could worry you?
就因为，刚刚也说那些成绩其实跟我去做领导这个队伍是没有多大关系，因为当时拿到这些成绩，也就是归功于我之前的4个队友嘛。也有明凯就是一直在带领着我们去走嘛，现在就是要我去担这个比较大的责任，然后领导队伍去走一个好的方向，我觉得还是首先经验可能不够吧。
Is that why we see Clearlove stepping back in sometimes to help support you in your shot calling and provide that veteran status?
他上的时候就是确实我们整个队伍就是会像你刚刚说，就是有一点稳定军心的那种感觉吧。
So then what do you think it will take for you to feel confident as the captain and the leader of Edward Gaming?
就我觉得什么时候就是在整个游戏方面，我能就是很完美的带领大家，然后不出现一些就是在指挥啊或者就是团队方面的问题，我觉得就比较有信心去带领好大家。或者就像刚刚说的，就是可能拿到我们一个比较满意、特别好的成绩的时候，就是我自己会觉得，可能我这个东西做的会比以前更好。就会有信心去更好的带领大家。
I'd actually like to ask you how you lead EDG now, because this is Mako's EDG currently. What are you doing to lead iBoy and Haro and Ray?
就作为现在 EDG 的队长嘛，然后就在不管是游戏方面、生活方面，我觉得是要给大家很多的帮助。其实我作为队长，不是一个那种非常严格，就是很严肃的那种一个人嘛。然后我对大家都是属于比较轻松的，跟大家也是有说有笑。我们虽然我是队长，但我跟大家其实还都是队友嘛，然后都是朋友啊兄弟，就不会给大家很大的压力。
Contrast this with Mako from 2015 when you first joined EDG, or even Mako in 2014 when you first tried to be a pro player. How do you think you've grown or changed to become this captain that you are today?
15年的我其实是一个责任感还有就是压力比较小的一个人嘛，然后到现在的我觉得是一个肩上的担当的东西很多，然后责任感很重，能很好的带领大家，去做得更好，然后我觉得这是我最大的一个改变和进步。
Okay. Mako, do you think you would have seen this growth, this wild success, if you hadn't joined EDG in 2015?
可能没有吧，我觉得就是来到 EDG 可能是我就是最大的荣幸吧。我觉得就是能有大家就这样子去教导我，然后去教我，就是一直进步嘛。然后不管是明凯还有就是阿布，就是他们两个其实是对我这个职业生涯是就是很大帮助的两个人。
Do you see success with EDG in championships or in your teammates, in their growth and their success?
那我觉得是第二点吧。如果就是我作为一个指挥的话，这一点可能是让我就是感觉我自己最成功的。
Mako, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us. It's been an absolute honor. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to see you at Worlds.
Thank you.
Yesterday we saw the grand finale of the LPL with RNG taking on, oh my gosh, I've already even forgotten, Invictus Gaming. I'm so focused on today, I don't even know what's happened anymore because the LPL is over and we're looking at the regional qualifiers. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I'm Dom. We've got, sorry, what were you guys' names again?
You know, just before this, you were just like, I haven't messed up in so long.
I know,
Why don't you guys
had to say something.
He jinxed it.
I had to say something.
It's all over now. Just
Raz and Frost, wonderful people. Thank you for keeping me grounded and keeping me human here on the desk. Because again, it is the 2018 regional qualifiers for that final world spot. Thank you so much for sticking with us for all of those technical delays. We've got everything all sorted out of the way now, so we'll just get the opening ceremony all wrapped up, and then we can get to the meat of it. We can get to the games themselves, because Edward Gaming are about to take on JD Gaming, and I am so very, very excited for that to be happening.
And classic Dom, he's just very excited about everything. Of course, we did just get off a phenomenal, it's okay, Dom. We just got off a phenomenal cosplay show, as well as a celebration of the Team China and the gold medalist, returning Xie, being included amongst RNG, as well as Mako, who's playing later on today, as you're alluding to. And I believe we have some Tencent spokesmen behind us that are just kind of finishing up some official business.
yeah, I saw a nice few things. The initial thing they talked about was merchandising, so you might see a few screenshots in the next few minutes just about
Just a giant Mercedes.
That maybe. You know what? I wouldn't put it past them.
Some Doritos.
A large Dorito, that might be a case. Warhorse as well. But I did see a fantastic figurine of Annie. So I know already, like, fish out there somewhere is just like, I need to buy it. So there's a lot of things happening. Fantastic stuff in
I'm
the
fairly
back.
certain that photo was of the life-size Annie that we've got in Central Campus in Los Angeles.
But now we know who was in the cosplay for the Tibbers. It was Fish.
Yes, he managed to find his way on stage that way. But still, this is a big celebration event because, again, we're coming to the end of the LPL year. We finished all of our games. We started in January. We've gone all the way through 10 weeks, then playoffs, then MSI, then another 11 weeks, Rift Rivals, playoffs again. Now 2 days left.
Yeah, and the big thing too is the Demacia Cups in the middle. Like, literally no time to stop because you just keep rolling. You're either rolling to Jakarta, you're coming back, maybe you're doing something in Chengdu. Like, there's, for teams like EDG, RNG, sometimes WE, depends what year, that you are moving, you're never stopping. And so having that time to just celebrate at times, just keeping that focus is what I love, because you can't just get yourself in always work mode.
Yeah, and
healthy.
And on top of that, it's also then these new teams moving into the new arenas. Again, in the LPL, we have 6 home arenas, including Shanghai, as well as 5 other cities, and RNG, kind of the newest ones, moving over into the Beijing arena, as well as Team WE with Xi'an. And they're not going to be the only ones. I believe next split we also have JD Gaming, who are also playing today, moving into Beijing. We've seen that battle, now the Beijing battle twice. And it's been pretty hot fire.
Of course, it should be noted, JD was the first team to take a win in Royal Never Give Up, if not the last.
The curse.
Yes.
Anytime you play your first game in your home arena, every team has lost it. No one has moved into Chengdu or Hangzhou or Chongqing and immediately won.
Hey, at least RNG answered back in the last week. At least in week 11, they came back with it. I just love the fact that JD are getting fans now. Fans in Beijing based on their Beijing performances, not just in the playoffs, but when they're going up against RNG, being able to take series or having a great one, because inevitably they're going to be going to Beijing.
Oh, yeah.
That was the announcement earlier this year. And so knowing that JD are based off of their current success, now riding that into Beijing, I think that's fabulous.
Just a question for me about what type of capacity the stadium's going to have. Xi'an, of course, is our largest stadium. It holds about 1,000 people. The Beijing Palace for RNG holds 800 people, and it just feels like they keep getting larger and larger and more grand.
And the best thing about that, because when I went to Beijing, I also went to Chengdu a little earlier on. The things I'm noticing is that they're just packed houses.
Yep.
They don't stop, especially for RNG. RNG doesn't matter what team they're going up against. If it's the OMG, just the last place teams, people are still there to watch RNG. And you go into the venue, if you haven't seen the Culture Shock episodes, please do, because being able to see it in person was incredible. I think the structures were really well made. There's the, the fan shop to the sides. You come in, even when you are, you know what, you're gonna miss part of the games. You don't if you're trying to go to the washrooms, because Like there is so much to keep you in tune with the action.
Even the washroom.
Even the
They do the
washroom.
same thing at the NALCS studio. They
It's
play
crazy.
the audio in through the bathrooms.
And
so you don't miss anything.
Don't get me wrong, I love the
10 times better than that.
NALCS studio. It is amazing, but China right now is the future of esports. If you want to look like what the structure can expand to, we have 14 franchise teams. We franchised at the same time as the NALCS. We are going to continue to expand until 20 teams by 2020. This is a massive league separated in 2 different conferences with a traveling circuit as more stadiums are built up. And not only are the stadiums grand, as Raz is explaining, they're also incredibly unique in the culture to the city that they're built in. Chongqing has their really famous chant, and Xi'an, you have the drums of Team WE, and RNG, I believe they chant, "Who are we? We are the champions, RNG."
Yeah, and they get the flags waving too. There's always something different about these stadiums and different about the culture, because obviously different dialects depending where you go in the Sichuan region. There's just so much that if you explore around China, I know a few people are, just being able to talk with them on in social media, that you get a little bit of different things culture-wise and esports-wise wherever you go.
And just to update you folks as to what's going on here at the regional qualifiers, we're going to be getting to the games in just a moment. We're still wrapping up some business behind us on the stage, but as soon as that's out of the way, we'll be jumping into the opening ceremony, so just to keep you updated as to what's going on. And the thing that I love the most about the arenas is even the architecture is representative not only of the region and the city that it's in, but also the team themselves. RNG
The cage match.
have got cages around their player pods. WE have got the stone walls to be representative of the Great Wall.
Inside
but hey,
and
now it's time
outside.
for us to take a look at the stage for the opening ceremony.
JDG， 有请所有队员进入到我们的对战席，期待他们迎接他们更加闪亮的表现。我宣布，2018年英雄联盟全球总决赛 LPL 赛区选拔赛将会正式开始，欢迎2组队员来到舞台当中，接受全场给他们的欢呼、呐喊和祝福。请2支队伍跟全场挥手致意，祝福 EDG， 祝福全 EDG 今天能够赛出好成绩。好了，各位朋友，那我们2018英雄联盟全球总决赛的选拔赛现在就正式开始了，让我们一起期待。谢谢2支战队。
这是我们最后的机会了，不会有什么借口或者情绪，只有全力争胜。
我们一步步走到现在，从不被看好到崭露头角。每一场比赛，我们想证明的只有自己。
赛制是残酷无情的，但是我们不会畏惧。这个秋天 ，EDG 不想缺席。
谁说年轻的队伍不行？从0到100的整个过程，唤醒了我们12分的潜力。
没有太多想说的话，无非是成王败寇。但我坚信，我们的2018不会到此为止。
既然选择踏上这个征程，那我们就不会再后退。我们距离终点只有1步之遥。
And now the ceremony is complete. Once again, we can unveil our incredible Summoner's Rift, a very close replica. And you gotta wonder, what happens on the Rift? Does the same thing happen in real life?
I hope not.
Well,
I die too much in the real game, though. That's the problem. You only get one.
You only get one today. And that's the big point for these teams, is it's not necessarily one, but it is 2 chances. You lose 3 times and you are out, because this is the regional qualifiers. This is the final opportunity for our 2 competing teams to challenge once again for that final world spot and advance with Royal Never Give Up and Invictus Gaming. Welcome back, everyone. That's the opening ceremony. My name is Dom. We've got Raz, we've got Frost. You've already seen us by now, and we're going to update you as to what's happening here in the LPL, because of those of you who haven't been tuning in consistently, there have been a lot of action and excitement. Frost, you always say it. Usually you tune into playoffs and say, okay, where's the RNG? Where's the EDG finals? Oh, things are a little bit different now. EDG got dropped out rather early, and they find themselves in the first round of the regional qualifier bracket, which we'll go ahead and take a look at in just a moment. And they've got quite the journey to go through if they want to compete.
Yeah, it was the 3rd time ever in Edward Gaming's history that they were knocked out in the playoffs, doing their best Worlds cosplay and falling down in quarterfinals instead of making that charge towards the LPL domestic finals. Now, who took them down? The exact same team who is going to face them today, JD Gaming. The easiest way to think about JD Gaming is they're kind of the LPL's Griffin. Now, they're not as new as Griffin. They have been around for, I believe, 4 splits now, so 2 years, but they are a brand new, very young, inexperienced organization that are just now finding this miracle surge.
But they have been bringing in new members, new cogs to the unit, and most impactful cogs. The top side of the map, we're seeing Zoom, incredibly powerful, incredibly flexible. And Yagao, you know what? I know in the spring split we had a discussion about who's the rookie of the split /year, but Yagao's coming out spearing ahead.
Remind me, who wanted Yagao?
He played the full year. That being said, he's done well the full year. So Yagao and Zoom have definitely staged a name so far in the LPL.
It's been quite exciting to see how JD Gaming have grown, but they've still got one final challenge if they want to claim that world spot. Let's take a look at the bracket. JD Gaming and Edward Gaming will be in the semifinal. Edward Gaming, with the higher seed, gets side selection in games 1, 3, and 5.
Now, here's the thing. You just said higher seed for EDG, but it's also higher seed for Rogue Warriors because of how Rogue Warriors and EDG had a better and collective, stronger year. JDG didn't show up in spring. They did show up in summer, and despite the fact that they have to make the full gauntlet run, they have already taken down Rogue Warriors and EDG by taking 3rd place domestically in the LPL.
But do not count EDG and Rogue Warriors out. If you're an LCK viewer, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can't count your chickens just yet. You have to see them go all the way across the road.
And that will be our matchup today, JD Gaming versus Edward Gaming. And as a sort of introduction to how these teams have played throughout the split, the reason why we're talking about JD Gaming as if they are such a young team is because their victories have been largely unexpected. Coming into summer, they've been taking wins off of top name teams. They were the first team to defeat Royal Never Give Up after their MSI SI victory.
I mean, frankly, it was really hard to kind of gauge how strong JDG were, simply because they were located in the Eastern Conference. Again, we have West and Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference is stacked. This is Invictus Gaming, this is RNG, this is JDG, whereas the Western Conference, those teams have been underperforming, and you can see that exemplified in Rogue Warriors. Formerly in the Eastern Conference, change over to the Western Conference, and suddenly they're the #1 team.
Yep.
So JDG, maybe they've been this good for a long time. It was simply the caliber of competition that kept them as a dark horse.
And the big thing you want to note on this graph is the wins over the course of the split. Notice how JD have consistent wins, 3, 6, 9, 12, up until the final week when they had already locked in a 3rd place seed, whereas Edward Gaming were scrambling as soon as week 6.
6 series losing streak. That's what you have to remember for EDG. Around week 8, it was getting real grim. Remember, they were 2nd seed for quite some time, but they were battling for 3rd seed. Remember, TOP were about to head over them. It was just at the very last moment they were able to grab it.
And if 6 series doesn't sound like a lot to you, that was the worst that Edward Gaming had ever had domestically as a split. Their last place finish, the longest losing streak. This is not the EDG of old. This is not the dominant premier LPL that we constantly talk about. This is a very different team going through a lot of different growing pains.
We also saw them miss their 3rd final of the entire history of the organization in a series against JD Gaming. We talked about that quarterfinal match. We've actually got some clips for you so we can see how JD were able to take the win, because it wasn't even close. It was a 3-1 victory.
They did it in the exact same way EDG have usually taken victories. Cross semi-global compositions, catching out side laners, but it was EDG getting caught up with the exact same tricks.
Yeah, Dom, you and I got the pleasure to cast this best of 5, and the fact of the matter is that we used to call JD Gaming the baby Edward Gaming. These are 2 very macro, play set, playbook oriented teams. They play a little bit slower, they like to kind of have all of their game plan in go, and then they execute on it very brilliantly. So you're looking for macro movements and fights around objectives, rather than that bloodthirsty LPL Chinese aggression style that the international community expects.
And the 2 star players that enable this play have got to be the Dumpling brothers, the Dumpling duo of Yagao and Zoom in the top and the mid lane. We've known that they've been talented for quite some time, but it's only in the summer split that we've seen them go leaps and bounds above their competition.
Yeah, coming in from the LDL, these were developmental players coming into the big league, so there was still a lot of questions being asked when they first stepped down. And then guess what? Yagao said in his first interview, actions will speak louder than words, and the actions came through. The stats don't lie.
Yeah, and also good with Vinegar. Now that said, Zoom is going to be the best top laner in this regional qualifier. He's competing with Mouse, Holder, as well as Ray. Zoom is head and shoulders above them. We speak about him in the same breath that we talk about the Shy, and Zoom has solo kills on the Shy.
Yeah, #1 of the top laners for solo kills, and super flexible, because you would say, well, he plays tank super well. The Orin pick's done well for them compositionally. And then you saw in his recent pro-out performances coming out with the Quinn. And Swain as well. So carries tanks, he's just a damn good team player.
And then on the other side, of course, it is Yagao. Yagao is kind of like a hybrid between Rookie and Xiaohu. He's not quite as specialized as either of them in terms of the lane phase and the map play, but he is such a good jack of all trades. He has a very deep champion pool. He has great impact across the map. He is a huge roamer and team fighter, but he can hold his own across other superstars in the LPL.
And this flexibility in the solo lane means that JD Gaming are so empowered to take such confident set plays. The Rise Realm Warps, the Gragas casks, the Aatrox carries, or the Ornn carries in the top lane. It doesn't matter. This team can do nearly everything.
And you will never sleep through a JDG game. Never. It will not happen. They won't let it happen. Every single time they create a play and it comes out successfully, I've seen a few observers try and pull us into a replay. It doesn't happen because they're going to make another play immediately afterwards.
But the big explosive timing window that you're looking for, I mean, yes, we'll kind of have a couple of solo kills maybe in the top lane, but it's usually around as soon as the first towers break down. This is a 5v5 oriented team about how they eat up the map, how they pressure objectives, and when they set up team fights. Again, much more macro heavy, a little bit less bloodthirsty, but very pushing tempo.
And one final clip of Zoom getting a 1 versus 2
this is my
outplay
favorite.
against Duke and Ning. Clid shows up just in time to catch him in midair.
It shows two things. Number one, Zoom in 2v1 situations comes out ahead. We see this more often than not in the summer split. The second one was actually just Clid counter-ganking so frequently. In fact, when he was going up against Ning, Ning could never get away in through these games because he was always counter-ganking and was in position in the mid lane and was in the top side of the map, so these dives were just not successful.
So now that we've highlighted some of the strengths of JD Gaming coming into this match, we now get the chance to do the opposite and look at Edward Gaming. Frost, what are some of the strengths Edward Gaming are bringing into this matchup?
Now, you're using the word strength, so I'm going to say strength. Unfortunately for EDG, diehard EDG fan, I feel like they have kind of one make or break, and it's their mid laner right now in Scout. The double-edged sword himself is playing out of his mind well, the best he ever has in his career. And so when Scout hard carries, which he very well can, he's just that explosive right now, Edward Gaming look great. Yes. If Scout doesn't have a phenomenal series, if he's not hard carrying, they just don't quite have the synergy on a lot of their newer pieces to pick it up across the map.
And when you've seen the best of EDG this year, it's been because they played through Scout. I know historically, EDG has been a team that plays through the bottom lane so consistently. Sometimes they play through mid, if you remember Pawn, but EDG Scout is play through mid, get ganks through mid, you're successful, then you can move. There are no other directions until that happens.
Yeah, that was the big key thing for me. Yeah, they'll sometimes camp Scout, especially if Haro is the starting jungler, which he is starting today, but it is still much about the bottom lane.
Yes.
Get Scout ahead, have advantage in the jungle, and then pivot that and rotate it bot to start diving for iBoy and Mako.
And of course, to recap all of this, this is Edward Gaming, the winningest team in the history of the LPL in the gauntlet to go to Worlds. This is a team that has been to every single Worlds since their inception, and now they're going up against a team that has already defeated them in a 3-1. It's going to be quite the challenge.
It's a big challenge, but just a challenge organizationally. The fact that this team has never been put in a position where they're missing out in Worlds. They've always been a top 3 team. Hell, top 2 team. Putting them in a gauntlet position since 2016, just like when the gauntlet system's actually put into a regional tournament, haven't been in that tournament because they've been consistent enough to get championship points or win the summer finals, and for them to be in this spot is just incredible.
So then I want to get into this real quick because there's a lot of stuff that we need to cover into this matchup. How do EDG win this matchup? Because massive fan base, massive organization, they've been to every single Worlds. It's looking like JD Gaming are actually favored into this.
What's really interesting is that there's no stylistic mismatch, it feels here. You can definitely say that JD Gaming have a stronger top side of the map and Edward Gaming have a stronger bottom side of the map. So from that perspective, but in terms of how these teams kind of want to attack the map and how they play their style, macro heavy focus, they have very set plays. They like to do a lot of planning ahead. You know, they make plays 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes in advance, and then they execute them as opposed to being very, you know, shoot from the hip reactionary type of brawling LPL teams. And it just, frankly, the last time they clashed, JD Gaming were just better at it. So what I need to see from Edward Gaming is they need to kind of go back to basics. They're going to play the same style that JDG do.
Yep.
It's going to be a rather slower pace game, but very pressure oriented. So I want big playmaking champions like the Tom Kinch and the Gragas to secure their strong laners, in particular Scout. Use those champions to get early ganks or survive the lane phase and start roaming around.
And what I want to know, because if we're talking about a key difference here, is going to be how much pressure is going to be put in the laning phase. For EDG, it's set Scout ahead early so he can do that for you on the Rise pick. Going towards JDG, as I mentioned with Yagao, while he's playing incredibly well, he is also just selfless because he ends up leaving his own lane so frequently, so early to help out the side lane. So when Zoom's getting dived like we saw in the recent replay, he just goes top early and he tries to defend that off. Same thing with the bottom lane. So while he actually falls behind during the playoffs in just the CS, it's because he's throwing that so he can go elsewhere and help his team.
So Raz, you hit on a key word there that I want to follow up on. You said the difference for EDG. It was just over a week ago. We saw them get 3-1 by JD Gaming. What has to change for EDG if they want to advance to Worlds?
I mean, I think they're already making the change up. I know you just directed it at Raz, but Raz turned to me, so I'm going to grab it, Raz.
Yeah, we'll go for it. We'll both touch it.
And I think they needed to put in Haro earlier. I think, like JD Gaming, it feels like the LPL audience are making a trust fall on kind of the next generation of LPL talent in this brand new, very young team. Edward Gaming need to do the same thing. Clear Love, he shouldn't start today. Put your faith in Haro. Haro performed well. He had to come into a series where EDG were already 0-2, and this best of 5 has now effectively stretched out to a best of 7, where EDG have figured out. Clear Love, not starting. It's all about Haro right now.
And I like the fact that you mentioned young talent because the biggest strength of EDG last year was iBoy. Where's iBoy? Why aren't we talking about iBoy in this series? Because you're right, while it's been all about this season has been scout, 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 iBoy and Mako's still known as one of the best supports in the world, and last year was known as the best support in the world. So what's happened with Mako? What's happened with iBoy? I know this has been a difficult split for them because it's been about the mage bottom lane. We're getting out of that point, so we should actually look towards the Kai'Sa coming out of iBoy, the playmakers in the bottom lane. If I expect differences being made in the past series to this one, it's going to be more about the bottom lane for EDG.
All right, so then what do you expect is going to be the actual outcome of this series? It's time for that favorite time for all of our analysts. The predictions. Can EDG turn it around, or will JD advance? Raz?
I'll do it. 3-1 JDG. And so, but because at the end of the day, I say one game for EDG because I believe that they are mechanically talented players. They still have it in them, and the strong shot calling is there for Mako. They'll have that one game, but they still have so much to improve on since the last week we've seen them. And JD has already been a team that has figured everything out. Coach Holm has really worked well with this team this split. They're the ones that should be relaxing and trying to be, mentally perseverance, knowing that they only have a little bit of things to work on.
And of course, I'm aligned with Raz. I also believe that it's going to be a JDG 3-1 victory over Edward Gaming, but I'm going to speak to why I'm not betting on EDG. Because you look at this team, you say they should have a massive playoff buff. We know that when it comes time for clutch, they've never missed Worlds. Why wouldn't we give more faith into EDG to find that 6th gear and drive it home? And frankly, it's because this split, this season, EDG have shown no ability to adapt. They've been very delayed to patches. They haven't moved on to new champions well. They're struggling to build their synergy, bringing in all these new pieces. So you almost have to throw out the old rulebook of everything that you expected from past EDG because they're dead. This is the new Edward Gaming, and the new dawn for them starts today with this series.
Well, now it's time for us to get towards that game. But before we go, we've got Lumao sharing his thoughts on this series.
Hi, I'm Lumao.
What do you think about this series, Luma?
I'm really confident in JD Gaming's, and I'm the main shot caller for the team, so I want to out-duel Mako in that position.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. Now it's back to us. Thank you for joining us. Don't worry, this isn't the Mandarin stream. It's just me and Clement coming in for this one. My name is Paul. This is Clement. How are you feeling about this series? Clement, too.
I'm definitely very excited. Like Dom is, it is the challengers versus the old guard. JD Gaming, a lot of people probably haven't heard of this team, but they've really made such a run in 2018. They didn't make the playoffs in 2017, but this year around, with their 2 new rookies coming from the LDL, Yagao and Zoom, they made it all the way. And in their recent performances, they have taken it to EDG repeatedly in the regular split, in the playoffs, and now they're looking to do it for the 3rd time in the summer split.
You know, I never thought I'd be standing here right now saying that EDG are not the favorites coming into this matchup. In the regional qualifiers, their last chance to qualify for Worlds when they have never missed a single championship since their inception. And here, EDG stand against JD Gaming, the Devil, ready to take them down. This is the rematch that they didn't want to happen coming out of the semifinals as we get into the matchup.
And straight away, you see the bans coming out from EDG. They have to take away the Aatrox, the big champion coming in from Zoom. If I was going to predict this series, the most important pick for Ray would actually be the Urgot. They need to secure in something that doesn't fold in lane. Zoom has absolutely been dominating him.
It makes me a happy man, Clement, when we're saying that Urgot, he's going to be part of the series metal. Here we go into the LPL. JD going to ban away the Ryze, the Rakan, and the Akali, first picking the Alistar. EDG over to them. Aatrox, Tahm-Kench, and Swain will be their takeaways.
And the important thing to note right here is that it is Haro starting out. Now, his advantage over Clear Love is that he has a much more expanded champion pool. He can play early aggressive picks like the Camille, which Clear Love has clearly struggled on for quite a while. And now we're going to see a strong setup like they were talking about for Scout.
All right, so we have the Gragas coming in for EDG. Could go to the bot lane, could go to the jungle, but I love to see the Aurelia coming in for Scout. This has been by far the strongest year in Scout's career, and if he wants to really put it to JD, it's going to have to come from him.
Yeah, if you look at Scout, you're looking at blind picks that can make massive impacts. It's less about the counter pick and more about the game state. He can, if you give him a champion like LeBlanc, like Aurelia, he will make miracles happen. He will blow the entire game state up. And on JD Gaming, we're actually seeing the Kai'Sa early. Now, this is very interesting because JD Gaming have not had the best laning phases against iBoy and Mako. To pick something that gives away lane priority is not something that they were willing to do in their previous BO5 against EDG.
Yeah, they were trying to win through topside, but I will say in the first couple games that JD had, they were doing very well in the bottom lane, actually much better than we expected out of iBoy and Mako. So as we look towards the Kai'Sa, we also have the Galio locked in alongside it. I'm going to hold on for a second. Yeah, we'll be swapped over to Varus here for EDG, giving that one to iBoy.
Definitely, EDG are looking about lane domination. In their past BO5, they brought out the Leona. They absolutely smashed the 2v2, and that's the basic trend of this matchup. EDG are going to look to play towards bot side, while JD Gaming are looking for the top side to be their big playmakers.
Yeah, and this is going to be manned by Haro as well. You know, he came in at the 11th hour to be the savior of EDG, but it still wasn't enough at the end. But bringing him here at the start of this series, we'll see what he can do. We'll see if he picks up that Gragas as well. Camille, we to take away from JD, of course, a big pick for both Clid and Zoom on the top side of the map.
I really like what EDG are doing right here. They're saying that we're going to strike earlier. We already have the bot lane priority. In the mid lane, 2v2, we already have 2 stuns set up. Very strong setup against someone like Yagao. JD Gaming, their first move is always to get Yagao roaming. If you can shut that down, it puts a lot more pressure on the other lanes.
Yeah, you want to try and declaw that top side. That's where they're going to be trying to win from. JD removing the Morgana, taking away the protection here for iBoy. No Tam Catch, no Morgana, and also no Urgot. Makes me a little bit sad. No, it's going to be part of this series meta, but as we get to the second phase, you probably just want to take it away entirely.
Yeah, they're definitely looking at the supports of Mako to be the main bans. That's a lane that they have been bleeding out quite often, so taking away a lot of protective picks. They know that iBoy is on the Varus, so if they can take away those picks, then they have a lot more success in the team fights. If you look at Game 2 between EDG and JD Gaming, that's where they found their success. They found a miracle pick with Lurimal to take down iBoy instantly and win them the fight.
Oh, I like this. This has been locked in here from EDG. Actually a pretty good pick into the Urgot that he just banned, actually. But we actually saw this come out first from Zoom. He was the first signer we had come back into playoffs with this pick. Came in with a damage jungler with Cleared alongside him and looked fantastic. EDG actually taking a page out of JD's book.
Yeah, the Scion is a very safe pick that they can put in the top lane. You don't need to invest in it. It's always going to do the same things. This is what I expected out of EDG, just get something safe for the top side, but on JD Gaming, they actually need some strong jungler to hold them into the early game. EDG, all of their lanes perform very, very well in their lane matchup priorities, so they need a strong jungler to at least get them through to the team fight. JD Gaming are putting their chips onto Loken, Kai'Sa in the late game.
Yeah, he's always going to be the late game insurance, and Loken has really stepped up as a hyper carry for the team. He's very reliable in those team fights, but you're right, it's going to be the top side of the map, including Yagao to get him there. Sejuani actually going to be a pickup for Haro, so I know the pig farm is meant to be clear love, but you want Haro right now to be the one who's manning that pick.
And Gragas is one of those big picks for EDG as well. Both Kulov and Haro do play the Gragas, and of course Mako as well. The main theory behind this is if you can make a setup where you have map control, then it's so hard for people to walk up and check brushes. You can instantly blow them back into your own composition. A very punishing pick, and this draft from EDG fits their style absolutely. They have the strong single point CC, multiple layers of it, so if they set up map control, they set up the trap, force JD Gaming to walk into them, they will have the advantage.
Then looking at JD, do you feel like they lost out on this draft, or this is still something that JD can play towards? Because we still have a damage jungle, we still have late game insurance coming out of Loken.
I have to say this draft takes away a lot of the strong points from JD Gaming, and that's that top side matchup that we're looking for. I think this draft forces Clid to play a very aggressive style. He needs to cancel out whatever Haru's doing, and he also needs to cancel out the natural lane priority coming in from the bot side of EDG.
Yeah, it'll be important to get those pushes in top lane and mid lane. It's nice that they actually do have the Galio matchup there to just try and shove in that Aurelia, allow Clid access into the enemy jungle, because Clid, one of the best junglers in the league right now, and is an aggressive jungler. You see it from his champion point, you see it from his play as well, so he should be able to hopefully overwhelm Haro, who, to be fair, has been stepping up in the zone right, but currently doesn't hold a candle to what we've seen so far from Clid.
If we talked about the consistent winning points for JD Gaming, it has been Zoom in the top side and then Clid in the jungle. Clid is just way too versatile for anyone to pin down. He can play you the tanks, He can play you the hard carries like the Graves and just be a secondary ADC for the late game. There's nothing he can't do, and he's also known as the LPL Yankos. Always going in for those first blood, over 66%. So Clint is the one that is setting the tone for most of these series.
Yeah, he'll make the action happen early for you for JD. Last time this happened, 3-1 to Jingdong. Didn't really break a sweat in that series against EDG, this team who is the flagship of the LPL, the machine. They're meant to be unstoppable, but the cracks have been there from spring, and it's only gotten worse as we've come into summer. The longest losing streak we've ever seen from their organization. Can JD make 2 best-of-5s happen back-to-back? Because right now, doesn't seem like we're going to see any difference as we get onto the Rift for the regional qualifiers. I think that the Jingdong manager has just straight up won.
Yeah, and it's so rare to think about this. EDG actually not showing up to the popularity contest. Lil Yellow, the manager from JD Gaming, always makes them feel like they're playing in home court.
Should be loud Yellow. That's he yells real loud, but got to see that he's here with the team here in Nanjing. And we'll get on through and take a look at those keystones real quick. I'm seeing a lot of green.
The important one for me is actually the Xin Zhao Keystone. We've seen a split between Press the Attack and also the Phase Rush. Now the Phase Rush does give you more ganking ability, while Press the Attack is more for the duels in the jungle. So we should expect Clid to be looking for early ganks, and that's what he's doing right now.
Yeah, Clid moving to the bottom side, just had that small tussle in the Tribe Rush. Walking into the river now, but doesn't seem fully committed on this bot lane gank. We'll just move up and try and take out on the crab.
And we can see from EDG, they're familiar with JD Gaming's old tricks. They had the early ward to prevent a level 2 red buff gank coming in from Clid. This is one of his favorites, and you always want to get Yagao roaming on the map. He has actually very low CS scores, but very high roam assists. So you should expect this guy to show up in other lanes before the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, he's actually made his way into Haro's jungle now, is taking away his blue buff. We'll see if Haro actually has any idea this is happening. The support coming in from JD's bottom lane, trying to get these deep walls down and assist him, but Haro, whether he goes to top lane or actually chooses to do something else, he needs to be looking at that vertical jungle.
Yeah, but we have to note that EDG did spot this out. They did ping on the map. Unfortunately for Clid, when he was going for that scuttle, he did reveal himself. So I do expect Haro just to trade back. And to be honest, I feel like this is slightly favorable in JD Gaming's side. They have the scaling bot side. They want the laning phase to go as smooth as possible for them for themselves to get the Kai'Sa ahead.
And unfortunately, we're going to have a bit of a road bump right now as we get onto stage. It's game 1. There's going to be a couple problems on the stage, and hopefully we can get it resolved as fast as possible. Yesterday was a lot of tension as we were coming into game 5 and we had multiple pauses. But 2 veteran teams on the stage will be able to shake off the nuts.
You can see on your screen, Yagao here. He is known as the Black Dumpling of the 2 dumpling duos.
Yes, indeed. Do you typically put different ingredients in black dumplings, Clement?
There actually aren't black dumplings.
There aren't black dumplings?
Well, they're really rare. I haven't seen one. I would say they were Western invention right there, but...
I see. Right.
That's going to be the key matchup right there. Yagao versus Scout. In the previous screen, we saw Yagao is actually very well known for playing a small set of champions that he does very well on. The Zoe, the Azir, the LeBlanc, and the Ryze coming in are those big picks that you have to look for. For JD Gaming, they're our most extensively researched team in the playoffs so far. They've played 15 matches, and they're going to go potentially 25 before they go into Worlds. So that's a big advantage of EDG right now. They actually have
everything they've done,
they just have so much footage of JD Gaming, and I was able to catch up to UDJ, the current on-loan coach to JD Gaming yesterday. He said he was confident about the matchup, but really afraid that EDG had something up their sleeves. They understood that EDG had such a long time to do prep. They haven't seen that much out of this team. And EDG, they're always known for the coaches. Aaron did go to the Asian Games. They're known for their logistics and their ability to innovate in the BO5. So that's going to be the big point coming into the series. Do those extra VODs, that extra footage, matter for EDG?
I'm just hearing in my ear that it is a peripheral issue happening for Ray right now, so hopefully we can get that one changed out or just fixed on stage as fast as possible. But yeah, I actually fully agree with you there, Clement. You know, when you look at a team like EDG or RNG, especially these long-standing organizations, even like an SKT in playoff scenarios, everyone always talks about the playoff buff, and it seems like, you know, witchcraft, it's like magic. But at a certain point, there is some science behind it because you have this organization, you have support staff behind you, and also you've been in a situation time and time again. You know, experience is a massive thing for these players on stage, and that's what EDG for the most part should have over JD. But if you actually look at their players, this has been a very different squad for EDG in this current year.
And we really have to talk about the downfall of EDG. My perspective is that EDG is now in every team. They have a transformative team for the LPL, but the thing is that you can't stake yourself on the things that you share with your enemies. EDG's old tricks, basically every LPL team knows now. The bot lane dive. You remember back in 2015 when a jungler dropped a ward? That was a rare thing, but now every team knows how to do it, and JD are going to try it.
Cleared, instantly trying to find access into the bottom side, but Maker's going to walk up just at the right time, as Jagao was also pushing into the bottom side of the map. So that one's going to be nullified. Meanwhile, on the top lane, Zoom just trading blows. Going to be a tank versus tank matchup, so don't expect anything crazy to happen in the top lane for this one. But I know that Zoom typically has just been an extremely strong laning top laner. Bot lane just still trading blows. Actually, Ignite going down onto Mako, has to push back behind his tower right there.
A very bad trade coming in from EDG. You could already see the verticaling jungling before this. So Clid is going to have timers on all of those camps. He's going to be able to pick his moments to go into that bot side and snipe out Mako without the flash.
Now mid lane, again, just constantly pushing in as to be expected of the matchup. But haven't really found out too much from it, though, with Clid. And being able to really find access into that bottom side has been counteracted. Now Yagao will get a deep ward and see Haro. Do have their current whereabouts.
JD Gaming's game plan right now is just to keep that bottom side safe. A lot of the times in the BO5s, JD Gaming wasn't willing to pick Kai'Sa. If they saw a potential for a strong counter pick against it, the Varus, the Ashe, they actually shied away. Game 5 against Invictus Gaming, Kai'Sa was up. They went for Jhin instead, just to make sure the lane could be equalized.
Haro on his way to the mid lane, making tracks, moves on towards Yagao, but has the shield of Durand up. He's going to get stunned down into the Scout. That's just inside of tower range, so decides to back away, but flash down.
That's actually quite a surprising game coming out from Haro right there, because you have to remember, JD Gaming just spotted him on that quadrant of the map. They didn't have the vision for it, and Haro does manage to sneak out a flash.
Oh, Ignite comes down, turn around, just the punch goes wide. Scout doesn't choose to punish right there, but still getting the best of this lane after that gank.
Bit of an interesting pick right there. He didn't have the Flaws duet anymore, so just trying to scare Yagao into a misplay perhaps, but that will be an advantage for the Gallia for sure, because now Scout is down the Ignite.
Zoom constantly getting pushed in. I mean, any matchup into Sion that isn't just a strong laner itself, you're just going to really have a bad time until your first couple backs. And Clid on his way to the top side, but he's going to find himself a ward, so no gank going to happen up there. And Zoom probably going to have to go back to base. Can't just sit in lane all day as this all, unfortunately. So he'll get a refillable for himself and teleport right back at the lane.
It's a great favorable matchup for EDG. We have to talk about the Ray versus Zoom matchup, which Ray has been losing on average by 500 gold at 15 minutes. If you look at endgame stats, Zoom is 3K ahead on average. So massive difference into that top side. He's able to find himself a tank versus tank matchup, nullify a lot of that CS score. So good preparation coming in from EDG. They didn't take the Urgot like I expected, but they did take the Scion, which works pretty much the same way. It's a very safe matchup.
The interesting thing about Ray in the top side, because I remember we were actually casting a lot of those EDG games back in spring, Clement, and we looked at those stats like, well, he's ahead in farm, but he's down in gold. So what's going on here? And then we also looked at Haro and how he impacts the top lane. They typically just give first blood to the opponent, and it's just like, well, Ray's just sat there, was like, what do I do now? That's not really been the case this split. Haro's had a massive surge in terms of his performance, so now Ray is actually just on his lonesome and still has these stats.
I think Ray individually has been performing very well. You say you can take the EDG, you can take the Mouse out of EDG, but you can't take the EDG out of Mouse. No, it's the other way around, actually. But basically what I'm trying to get at is EDG still put their top lane on an island a lot of the times. throughout their six-series losing streak, their biggest problem was that full map coordination. They just didn't have the communication ability with Ray to sync up a lot of their plays. And the reason they were falling behind was while Ray was on a split pusher, they would often just give up the Baron. It happened so many times, and they were actually the worst team during the 20 to 25 minute mark for 3 weeks on end, a very unexpected turn of events. And after that period, how EDG got back on their feet was they actually limited what Ray was supposed to play. He was going on the Kennen a lot of the times, but after that stretch, they put him more back onto the tanks. They played him the Jarvan tank, they played him the Cho'Gath was a big one as well. So EDG, they're trying to reinvent themselves, but when it comes down to the stretch and when standings really matter, they still have that sort of structure that they go back to. The problem is that structure beneficial now you're going up against Zoom?
And really, you're looking towards, those veteran players to bring that structure back in. And, when ClearLove comes in, it's just like, all right, now's the time. It's like when you bring on Uzi off of the bench, it's like, all right, Uzi, let's get it all together. You look at ClearLove for the same thing, especially more towards ClearLove because he's meant to be a shot caller alongside Mako. But that's not really what we've seen in the split either. This is the 7th anniversary. This is ClearLove 7. Everyone wants to be spamming the 7s. But they're not. What's a Chinese number for when someone's inting?
When someone's insane, 666.
Oh,
666 means you're really slick, you're playing really well. 777, Chi is reserved for ClearLove when he does come out.
Yeah, just hearing on stage, it is a peripheral issue once again, but not with Ray. It's actually with Haro, so I don't know if Ray just unplugged his mouse, gave it to Haro, and it's just like, all right, I'm fine. Let's swap mice. But hopefully we should get that resolved very shortly.
I do want to see ClearLove at least come out for one game. That has been a bit of their panic button at times as well.
Is that a good thing though, Clement? Because ClearLove started the series last time they went up against JD, and we saw how that went, and then when Haro came in, it actually looked better for them.
I actually have differing opinions on that. When ClearLove is on the map, I still feel like they definitely synchronize with the lanes better. That's the big thing I give ClearLove over Haro. But I think the main thing about ClearLove is he just doesn't have the champion pool to compete. He effectively has 3 champions, and that's the Xin Zhao, the Gragas, and the Sejuani. That's pretty much it. He is known as the pig farmer, so a lot of times when he does show up, people just take the Sejuani away for him. Haro has been EDG's main starter for sure, and he's been the more aggressive one. Now, what I really want to see Haro do is try to challenge Clit a little bit. That's the big mismatch that I've seen so far in the jungle. If it's just a 1v1 strength, Clit has that in spades. He's always been winning out that matchup, pushing him away, and a lot of times it feels like EDG laners, they're trying to get things done by themselves. That was the case for me for EDG versus JD Gaming. You look at the kills they got. It was Scout on the flashy solo plays, the bot lane 2v2 as well. And he just really needs to take it to Clit, make sure he is not pushed out of the map.
Yeah, I'd like to see some more aggro picks actually come out of Haro, but we're back into game once again. If we have no more peripheral issues, top lane going to be putting down the Ornhorn onto Ray, but Haro's right behind him. Clear looking for that gank to the top side. Will come in with the audacious charge for Haro. Trent turns one around. That's a lot of CC coming down on top of them. Clear's low, jumps into the brush, and he'll fall for first blood. Turning on towards Zoom, rushing away, but he's still stunned up by Haro. The slow comes down. Ray is chasing. Another dash will get him safely back to the tower, but first blood goes to EDG.
And that was such a good counter gank by Haro. We have to remember, before the pause, Clit just sweeped that position. He knew he was spotted, but he still waited around and tried to make it happen anyway. Now Haro, with some good spider senses, he knew that Clit didn't leave the top side. They want to snowball Zoom, so he just waited there. And with the level advantage and the superior focus, they take Clit down.
And that's one way to make it work, right? Instead of being aggressive, you can just wait for Clit to be aggressive. Just wait for him in the top side, or wait for him to the lanes he's going to go towards. Zoom and top, rushing down Ray. Finds the knockup on the outside ring, and Yagao follows up with the Winds of War. Ray, seriously under pressure, doesn't have flash, has to turn one around, but he's taunted. Brings up the shield. Zoom starts to walk away, and he turns into the brush, but Winds of War once again will put him down. Yagao gets a kill.
Does get extra 5 or 8 seconds down.
Oh, hang on, he needs to run away from that. Yeah, he does a lot of damage well on his passive.
Yeah, unfortunately he is running Grass of the Undying, so no Glacial Augment to try and slow Zoom down, but you could see what he was trying to do. He was trying to slow Zoom down so he could be in kill range for the zombie.
Bottom side though, Mako and iBoy putting pressure onto Loken as actually Luma has just evacuated the lane. Now he's coming back down, but that was a lot of farm loss there for Loken as he sets back up to this mini wave now.
And I love that pressure coming in from EDG. The reason they were able to step up was because Aurelia disappeared on the map. While Yagao roamed top, Scout roamed bot, and then feigned a bot lane dive, went back, got his item, so they got pressure for nothing, basically. Great use of their time. It was putting pressure on 2 points and winning out on both points.
JK, I was just building my Triforce. Scout's going to get himself his blue buff right here, and over by Haro, and hitting level 6 on both junglers, in fact, as we have yet another pause. Now, if we're following trends, it should now be Scout with the peripheral issue.
You mean it's just going to happen
from
one
top
by
to bottom,
one,
yeah.
And then it's going to be Mako, and then it's going to swap over the other team. But I really hope that isn't the case. Unfortunately for JD Gaming, you know, they're a very young team. This is going to be the organization's first chance to actually go to Worlds. People have never seen them on stage before. I hope this doesn't dampen their momentum.
I mean, no one knows who they really are. You know, they didn't make Rift Rivals because they were you could say the 5th best team, so they just barely missed out, but they had the same win-loss record as the top 4 who went to Rift Rivals. They've been consistently good for the entirety of the 2018 season, and now coming here to the end in the regional qualifiers, they're coming as the favorites versus EDG. But so many people, you're tuning in just now, it's like, who the hell are JD? And why are EDG sitting right there alongside them?
To give everyone a short breakdown, JD Gaming is my favorite team to watch. They're super aggressive. They go into team fights very often. There's no line between their laning phase and their mid game. If there's one stat that really capitalizes who JD Gaming are, is that they have the most roaming stats in 3 different positions. Yagao, Zoom, and Loken leave their lanes the most out of anyone in their position, and they want to get into the 5v5 as soon as possible. The first step for them usually comes down to Yagao, and that's one of his big picks in the Galio.
And I was right, it's Scout with the... No, I'm just kidding. It's top lane, Ray has another peripheral issue, so maybe it's the same one. Perhaps we can see if we can swap that one out for him. But yeah, peripheral issues, turns out they're quite useful for playing League of Legends and playing video games in general. It would be quite nice if those all working for him. But luckily we weren't in any real pressure scenarios, so should be okay. But here's the script here, Clement. You know, Clearlove comes in, you know, it's the 0-2 down EDG, and he instantly, first pick, locks in the Evelyn. And then the reverse sweep JD. That's the script. I've just been sent it over WeChat, yeah.
You're not supposed to say this script on air, though. That was your mistake.
Oh, I see. It's like wishes. You can't say them to other people the way they come true. Yeah.
But that would be a lovely script, to be honest. Evelyn is one of those champions that everyone knows that he plays. He's never shown it in regular split. A couple teams have tried to ban it against him, but I think it was more in jest rather than a serious hard ban against Clearlove.
But here's a serious question though, because I think that EDG over this last year have not performed in any pressure situations at all, really. You look at like the finals in spring, you look at even when they faced Billy, formerly IMA, you know, basically Amazing J's team, and that series, Amazing J and Billy smashed them 2-0. You know, in every pressure situation, EDG have not performed.
We talked about how the strengths of EDG are now generally just the strengths of the LPL. They taught everyone their tricks, everyone learned from them, but at the same time, EDG, they kept their own weaknesses. Their top side has always been a hole, and if you look at their player strength relative to the rest of the league, it's gone down. It used to be the fact that Clearlove, Deft, and Scout were the best at their positions, but that's no longer the case. They don't even play with Clearlove and Deft anymore, and iBoy hasn't been able to take the throne from Muzi. He's still working at it. I don't blame him at all. Haro hasn't really shown up massively. He's had good moments, but still overall very inconsistent and hasn't been tested through the fire of those big playoff moments. And of course, Scout, like Frost likes to call it, he is the double-edged sword. Sometimes he'll do great, sometimes he will feed in the team fights.
He's the MLXG of mid laners.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think they've gone down in consistency, they've gone down in relative power compared to the rest of the league, and their macro advantages that they used to enjoy are no longer there. So that's the downfall of EDG, and they're trying to pull themselves out of that gap, try to redefine themselves when they're not so far ahead in terms of the player strength. I think a big point for EDG is if you look at them, they could still be a very good late game team fighting team, but they've never made that turn. They still stamp themselves firmly in the we're gonna snowball lane and snowball mid-game camp, which personally I feel like has been their downfall. You don't really have the players, and especially not the jungle, to do it anymore.
I mean, it just feels like a bit of an identity crisis here for EDG, and when you look across at JDG, it almost feels like they're doing what EDG is doing currently, just better. You know, EDG will come out of the set and it's like, all right, well, let's make sure that we have our summoners, and then we'll have the vision control around this large objective, and up the engagements and we lose. You know, and that's essentially how the matchups went between JD and EDG. You know, they're waiting too long to make these things happen, and the proactivity is coming out of JD. Hopefully, all the peripheral issues have been resolved on stage. Touch wood. I don't know if this desk is wood or not, but I've tapped it.
And you can see EDG with the play going towards the top side, taking up so much of JDG's time. They've actually set up around the Dragon very, very well. They're looking for that early 5v5, and they could very well take it with this type of composition. But of course, they need to avoid the gank first.
Yeah, well, Clid was looking for it, but Haro is on his way to the bottom lane, has level 6, and the ultimate locked and loaded. Scout is right behind him as well, being his wingman. It will be a 3 versus 4 as they go for the side, but there's Ninjao as well. Lots of bursts coming down to the bottom lane, and Lumao is already dead. Scout comes out with Vanguard as chasing down Clears. Throws out the ultimate, he's already on top of the space once again. Sidestep out of the duet, but here comes Yagao. Looks for the taunt onto the 3. 2 already down, but the Windsor War is big. Yagao pushed back to the tower. EDG take 2.
And that would be 2 kills for EDG and the entire wave zoned away. This is EDG making their map plays, equalizing the map, taking the opportunity for every JD Gaming mistake where they overload too much, and then just punishing themselves on the punishing them on the other side. Now, I have to say, this is one of my biggest criticisms of JD Gaming. I feel like sometimes when they go for the play, they go very, very all in. They just go, I need to take everything possible, and it's very easy to equalize if you're willing to trade.
And as hard as we've been on EDG, you can always fall back to the bot lane set play with Sejuani. You know, we've seen it time and time again with Clearlove, and now we have Haro, Clearlove 2.0 coming out here. Fantastically played, 2 kills coming out there, and the bot lane tower, Clement.
JD Gaming, they were staying around for the potential 4v3. They thought they could turn it, but the big thing that they missed was Yagao did not have Hero's entrance. And EDG, I really like their target selection. They weren't greedy. They took their targets one by one. Even though the ult was on the Alistar and not the Kai'Sa, it didn't matter. They said, okay, we're just going to focus this one down and then move forward. So very patient and calm play from EDG.
Patient and calm play, not something we could have said about Haro coming into spring, because I specifically remember, you know that one game they played into FPX, he was on Sejuani, came to the bottom lane and stepped into a Caitlyn trap, and the entire play fizzled, and it's like, oh no, and then just never touched the champion again. But right here, it was like literally night and day difference coming in from the last 6 months, so huge growth coming out of Haro there. And if that is what EDG are setting up towards, you know, we were talking about an identity crisis, but if they go back to what they were attempting in spring, but actually just have it together now, then maybe they can make it work in this series.
Yeah, I think this game state is in EDG's ball court. They know how to manipulate their bot lane. Their bot lane has always been their strongest point, and for them, it's just about moving them, continue the tower siege, and taking away the objectives surrounding iBoy and Mako. Now, this is a very tried and proven game plan. It's actually up to JD Gaming to disrupt the sieging flow coming out from EDG.
But so far, EDG are moving towards the top side. Meko CC down on to Zoom, but iBoy is just collecting the minion wave as Haro is in the side. See if we can find that flank. Already picked up the Herald as well. So again, EDG have this stocked up tempo ready to cash in one of these lanes. Looking towards the mid lane now. This has been read out by Clid, though, is sat right behind Yagawan to the mid. And Scout is now pushing in this minion wave. Shelly's being set up. Mako and iBoy here as well. It'll be a 4-man push, and JD will be slow to this play.
No hesitation whatsoever. JD Gaming, I think they're going to look to turn on this. They're most well known for their engages, and I don't think they can sit back like this so long. They have to do something before that top lane tower is taken away, or I feel this game is just slipping away from them.
It is. I will say that the first time they faced down EDG in the playoffs, they took a little bit of time to rev up, but this is losing a lot now. This is a 2,500 gold advantage, a mid lane tower down, another tower in the bottom side, and multiple kills on key members.
And JD Gaming have not been the best team at comebacks so far. They're a team that they like to take early leads, they like to snowball their leads, but when they're put on the back foot, a lot of the times what they do is they go for super aggressive plays where they all group up, all appear out of nowhere. And a lot of those times, if the enemy team is aware of that and they're prepared to counter, then that play kind of fizzles out. So the game is really on a nice edge right now, and I think it's going to be decided by the next 2 plays coming out from JD Gaming. Do they get the successful initiate where they just wipe with 5-man showing up before EDG, or is EDG going to anticipate and counter?
And frankly, yeah, to take that one step further, the key weakness from JD has just been lack of experience. You know, it's not really been a problem with like the mechanics or the set plays. It's like, that looks fantastic in the early game. That's the reason why to get those advantages. Like, fantastic. We're good enough players to make this snowball happen, but just haven't been enough scenarios. You know, this is still a relatively new team to come together. You know, they've lost their star mid lane in the form of Doinby. They bring in Toothpaste, they bring in Zoom into the top side of the dumpling duo. And it's just like, well, we don't really know what to expect. And they come out of the gate swinging fantastic, but they just need more time on the Rift. You're probably like, oh, well, the LPL has millions of games, right? And you're right. So they have managed to accelerate in the chamber, you know, but it still will take a little bit of time for them to reach the same tier as some of these dynasties like EDG and RNG.
It's just, what do JD Gaming do down the stretch? Are they going to have the composure to strike back in a measured fashion? And you can watch EDG. They are so prepared right now. They know JD Gaming have to pull the trigger in the top side, or else they're going to lose too much map control. So they've sunk 4 control wards, 2 of them in the brushes in their own lane, just to make sure that Zoom can't teleport behind them.
Right now, fully swapped to the bottom side of the map. He's already picked up his first item into Zoom, and Zoom's job is essentially to clear out as many winning waves as possible, but Ray has the priority in bot lane. He has the teleport ready to go, and he's Sion. He can make plays happen whenever he wants. EDG is just going to go back, consolidate resources right now, picking up first items across the board. In fact, Scout has finished his Triforce. Massive spike for him in the mid lane.
There's absolutely no anchor points for Zoom in the top side of the map. He's going to be spotted before he can even use his ultimate. So I think this really means that Yagao is going to have to be the one to coordinate a comeback for JD Gaming. I think him and Lumal are the main initiators for the team, and they should be looking to get themselves back into it either through a kill, either through a team fight initiate, or just a pick in the bottom side that they're looking for right now.
Yeah, this reactive play coming out of JD, and really historically it's been difficult for them to make this happen. And EDG, I just want to see more from them. You know, those initial set plays were great, set themselves up, move towards the top side, taking down another tower. This will be the last alpha turret down for EDG, just cresting the 15-minute mark. JD will get something back on the bottom side of the map. It's going to be a Cloud Dragon, hoping that will be something a bit more combative, but still they'll take what they can get.
JD Gaming, they're willing to give up river control just to have a little bit more gold onto Loken. Now, they're not typically a team that does like to play with the scale for Kai'Sa strategies, but they're already too deep into it. They have to get something out of her.
Yeah, this is a trade happening into the bottom side. This is inner turret going down. Haru's also waiting in the wings. No one will be able to rotate towards this, and JD are hard committing into the bottom side, but back away. Only leaving Zoom down here. I don't think they'll be able to get to top lane in time. No, this is already gone from EDG, so again, trading up.
Yeah, 2 for 1, and you have to notice the local gold wasn't even transferred over towards Kai'Sa. So the scaling game, the scaling advantage that they're waiting for is still going to come in even later. That was a pretty collected play from JD Gaming. Usually what you see from them is that they will step up to a siege like that and just go all in.
Just pull the trigger.
Yeah, but they probably recognize that they are pretty far behind, and the vision control was so thoroughly taken away by EDG that they just couldn't find a good point, a good avenue of attack.
Well, what is that good point? Is it literally just a flank and positioning, or is it item spikes? You know, you're always looking to a Kai'Sa second, third item, but we're looking at Yagao. You know, he's completed his Rod of Ages. You're looking for a second item from him before you can really feel confident and engage it.
I definitely think it would be the flanks coming in. That would be the big things you look for. If you think about iBoy in this team composition, he's actually quite easy to pick off. There's no Tahm Kench, no Shen trying to protect him. So if Zoom manages to get into the back line, they can follow up with the Xin Zhao, push everyone away, and just make it a duel between iBoy and Clid. That would be their their best case scenario in that situation.
And EDG putting down the pressure, turning those screws, pushing into the top side, deep vision coming in from them.
And we have some nice stats provided by the Chinese side. When EDG is up 2,000 gold by 15 minutes, their win rate is 14 wins to 2 losses.
Oh, wow. That's a big number, Clement.
Very good at snowballing the game.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting stat, given that EDG have lost a good amount of games in this split. You know, often you see stats like that, especially when it's like IG, and it's like, well, they've won like 98% of their games, so of course that's the case. But for EDG, it's been a up and down ride for them, especially in summer.
Yeah, and I feel like you can tell on the map how they're getting that stat up. Just look at the vision lines that they're actually pushing in. They've gone past the river at this point, already into JD Gaming's jungle, and most importantly, they're not missing many wards behind them. So far on the map, there's only one backward for JD Gaming. Those are incredibly important when you're trying to get a flank off and you're going to play with someone like the Ornhorn.
So you need step one, clear out the vision, and then look for the flanks. And that seems to be, the problem. Like EDG, when they get to actually like set up the battle lines and like, okay, we place down the vision, set up the flanks, set up the objectives, they're really, really strong, But again, we said that if JD can actually just overwhelm them with just strike first, pull a bit of a Rogue Warriors, who will be sitting in front of both these two teams in the regional qualifiers in the next stage, then maybe that's how you overwhelm EDG. But so far, we haven't seen any of that.
Nope, EDG playing a clean game throughout, getting their strong bot side. And for JD Gaming, they don't have their biggest tool against EDG. They don't have the split pushing side lane. It's a tank versus tank matchup in the top. They have no way to actually spread the map up. And that means EDG is going to stay grouped up throughout the entirety of the game. They're going to try and go into the jungle and set up vision. It's going to be very hard to actually get picks anywhere. So I like what JD Gaming is doing right here. A lot of the times, they are looking for the trades. This is not natural for JD Gaming, but they realize the composition that they've drafted for themselves, and they're going to do it anyway.
The problem there is they just didn't have knowledge of what EDG were doing. It's just like, I have multiple members in Fog of War, so we can't continue to commit on this tower. And this is an outer top lane turret right now that they just have to back away from. So we're seeing just guerrilla warfare come out of JD in terms of objectives, but it's not the kills that we expect to see. This is a 19-minute game in the LPL, I might add, and we have 4 kills. Very unexpected.
Oh, Zoom didn't manage to get the big Krug.
Gives him the thumbs up.
Cheeky play coming in from Ray. We could see Zoom tries to use the Searing Charge to steal that away, but Ray just says no with the Decimating Smash. Good return.
Yeah, it's just funny watching a tank versus tank when I know both of these top laners can play carries very effectively.
Yeah.
So you watch the trades happen in slow motion essentially, and it's just like, well, I lost 5% HP and now I've shielded.
It's funny about the trade that they're not even trying to smash each other.
Yeah,
they're just going for
the minions and the Krugs. Yeah. Yeah. Sad times, but I would like to see later in the series Zoom and Ray actually pick up something that can deal a bit of damage. Like Ray has primarily moved to the tanks, especially in summer, but when we saw him move back onto EDG once again coming in this year, he was picking up a bunch of carries. You put him on the tank, and sometimes he just win top lane with a tank match. If you give him a carry, and then he just snowballs through the top lane. That's still potential for EDG, but it's not been what they're playing towards. They always look towards bottom lane, always look towards Eyeboy and Scout.
Yeah, it's not about the individual, it's about the communication coming in from Ray and just how much more comfortable they are. Here it comes the engage.
Forward to Forge Guard, gonna find 2 on this one, but can they actually find the Initiate? Because off on the side, Ray is just stopping them from doing anything. Full collapse onto the side, but he's very tanky, flashing away from the shield of Durand, and he's good to go.
Key point right there was that Lurmal was stunned by Aurelia, wasn't able to follow up. If Lurmal got his WQ combo out, that would be the hero's entrance straight onto Eyeboy's face. So very well played by Scout to deny the Initiate.
Is this the LCK? Is this the LCK regional qualifier I'm casting? Get in there, kill each other. This is JD. This is nothing like the last best of 5 that we saw out from them in the semifinals against EDG.
They were trying, man. You have to give them that. They just couldn't find the angle right there. Really well played by Scout. He definitely knew the key members to target to stop that engage. You're always looking for a gap closer to be the first one in, and then you follow up with the Galio hero entrance. But once you deny the Xin Zhao, you deny the Alistar from walking forward, you deny that potential as well.
And it does feel like a lot of the preparation we were alluding towards from EDG is starting to show. It seems so airtight coming out from them, because you're right, Scout was looking for that position to stop them initiating, Ray was doing the same, and JT, that was the shortest ultimate I've seen of all time. But hey, it did the job.
It definitely did. And JD Gaming, they're still hanging on and try to get that scaling lead with the Kai'Sa over EDG. They're willing to trade a lot of objectives for it, but the question is that they can't put EDG off of a siege. We've seen so many times right now, in fact 3 times, where EDG are willing to step up to a tower as 5, and JD Gaming really haven't had an answer.
Scout is a potential target. Lumao and Loken have moved into the second brush now. And the collapse from Zoom and Clid coming around the side. Scout has everything up as he walks into the brush, instantly CC down, throws out the duet, but the kill instinct out from Loken, and Scout is dead before he can do anything. Throws out the blades, but he's already down. A kill over JD.
A little bit greedy coming out from Scout. He wanted to pick up a second wave. He had an inkling of what was going to happen, but had to say that was the play where curiosity killed the cat. He probably should have listened to his inner instincts and just backed away from the tower. So JD Gaming, they don't reset on the map, but they stay longer on and find the pick play into the top side.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Scout's the type of player, you know, when you have like the Angel and the Devil on both shoulders, just had 2 Devils. Like, take the next minion wave. You can do it, it'll be fine. It wasn't fine, in Eraser's voice. Haro and Meiko in the jungle, pushing up, seeing this red buff spawn. It will be a contest, but Luma's right behind them. Haro finds him though with the Arctic Assault. Meanwhile, Ray turning this one around. Big cats coming through, but Haro is dead. Another kill to JD, making those practice plays.
And the question marks come out for EDG. They're asking, why are we venturing into this jungle when our mid laner is just coming outside of base? Now, EDG, I feel like these are mistakes they should not be making. They need to have more respect for JD Gaming. JD Gaming, if you don't have eyes on them, you have to assume that they're in every single brush.
It feels like they only have local comms. You know, if they're close to each other, they can hear each other, but when they're spread across the map, they can't hear each other anymore, so they can't tell them to back away. Don't contest this objective.
And this is how JD Gaming get themselves back into games. They didn't expect Luma pulling up a sword art type of play right there, waiting in the enemy jungle. They didn't see that W from behind their own lines.
Well, I now know what happens when a cow headbutts a pig. They actually just collide. So that Arctic Assault completely stops out there by the headbutt. I've actually never seen that interaction before.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if you're not unstoppable, that usually does happen to you. And EDG, this time around, they have to place better vision forward. You can see in their red side, they're buying a lot of pinks. They want to re-secure the map, but this has bought so much time for JD Gaming to actually scale up.
How did that happen, Clement? Because there was so much vision coming down from EDG. They must have surely seen them coming from a mile away. It seemed like they just opted into those plays, and by the time they realized it was a bad thing to do, they were just like, oh, well, I guess I'm caught now.
You know, a lot of times it just comes down to the tempo. JD Gaming came on the map first when EDG was doing the push. EDG then recalled. JD Gaming didn't, and they just pushed forward. Now, EDG, they've already had their vision cleared out, but Scout greeted for that wave. I really think he did. And unfortunately, that's how things really snowball away from you. You have to chain your movements together. You have to be on the map, all 5 at the same time, to make sure that these things can't happen to you over and over again.
Haro, oh, what a sidestep coming out from Khalid, looking for the flash over the wall, pops the ultimate, he's knocked back in by the Gragas ultimate, blasts away to the rest of the team. Vanguard's Edge comes in and he will die to the blade. Ray coming in from the side, lining up the ultimate, but Yagao, he's out of there, the pins are gone.
Yep, and they're looking straight at the Baron play right now. It's already 25 minutes. They have a lot of damage to take it down. Blade of the Ruin King on iBoy. Let's see if they're going to go for another pick, or are they just going to start it?
Scout's leading the charge into the mid lane, and Zoom's going to face check this one. Instant flash coming out from Meiko, finds him the CC, but in comes the hero's entrance out from Yagao. Charges up the taunt, finds one, but Meiko low. Loken doesn't get the kill. Turn around. What a massive ultimate coming out from Zoom. And Scout's routed, so is Meiko. And Loken free to deal the damage. Lumao taking up the front, and it's a massive brawl at the front as he tries to turn around. Lumao sniped down, and iBoy comes up big.
And in that fight, JD Gaming do trade 2 for 1, so they take away the Baron threat completely. It was well played by EDG, but they couldn't finish off the target soon enough.
And it just came down to a team fight right there, to be honest. They kind of just stalled out. It's like, all right, guys, time out. We'll just have the tanks, you know, hit each other for a bit. Time in, and then iBoy just comes out from left field and snipes down Lumao.
Yeah, they wanted to attempt the attack onto Zoom right there. They expended a lot of their ultimates, and you have to watch Loken. There's no ultimates left for him anymore. The Gragas doesn't have the cast. There is no knockback. Aurelia has already used all of her CC. So it's a free shooting range coming in from Loken. He's able to dish out so much damage towards the front line. So after this play, actually EDG fall back a little bit. JD Gaming get a bit of breathing room and a bit more time to scale.
Lumao just staying in there a little bit too long without his ultimate running, and it felt very confident. He was 2 members essentially just taken out of the fight, but still, the turnaround comes in. EDG stop JD from taking too much more from that play, sending a nice trap up there in the brush. 4 to 5 in kills, and EDG still have the gold advantage. A lot of that's coming out from the towers they picked up earlier on into the game, but we're just kind of scaling on both teams right now.
But EDG, they had a 4K lead at 16 minutes. Now that lead has not grown. In fact, it has shrunk down to the 3K point. And if you look at JD Gaming, Kaisa is nearing her 3 items. She's going to deal massive damage to the front line, and the front line of JD Gaming is going to keep her safe throughout your entire team fight. It's actually going to be up to EDG EDG, the divers in potentially Ray and Scout, to actually try and get the Kai'Sa down. If they're just playing front to back and Alistar Ornn is the front line against Sejuani Sion, I actually feel like it's more favorable to JD Gaming. They have the tank killers in Kai'Sa.
It should be, and we just kind of need a bit more time, because right there, it started off well, but it kind of just stays in the fight for a little bit too long. That should be good as the game goes on, as you're alluding towards there for Loken. He's now 2.5 items. On the opposite side, though, iBoy with the relatively cheaper item build, moving towards the Wit's End, is now sat on 3 items himself. Bit of a stare down in the jungle, throws out the Chain of Corruption, doesn't quite connect, but it's still opening up onto Zoom. He's tanking up all this damage though, and in comes Clid. Throws out the Vanguard's edge, the Blade Cage is up, and it's preventing JD from finding access in here. That was a massive Napper coming in, but Ray pushing forwards, doesn't have the damage to kill either of the tanks, but Duet's good. But EDG want to disengage.
A little bit too many tools expended on EDG's side just to try and catch Zoom out once more. You can see iBoy's Chains of Corruption was already used right there, and they can't force their way through the choke. There's an Alistar and Galio standing right in that position. It was a good try for EDG, but I really think they need to save onto their ultimate and try to focus down Loken. If they're throwing everything into the front line, that's actually favorable for JD Gaming in a lot of situations.
I mean, honestly, Zoom just soaked up so many ultimates, so many resources there from EDG. But then again, Ray kind of just did the same thing. You know, he just sat in the middle of 3 people and it's like, go on, give me your best shot. He couldn't really topple either of these tanks. So it's just a matter of waiting for scaling, waiting for when they can actually topple down these tanks. But for now, those tanks are just kind of reigning supreme.
EDG, they do have a small window of opportunity right here. Loken still without the flash. iBoy has his. So that's a massive team fight edge upcoming. What EDG really want to close this game out on is the strong point from Aurelia. When you have the Sterix and the Triforce is her best point in the game so far.
Do you think that EDG are in a bit of a timer here just because of the Kai'Sa that's been locked in by JD?
Well, I would say yes. If it goes to the super late game, I do favor JD Gaming's composition just a little bit more. I feel like it's technically a lot harder for Aurelia to do well in terms of a team fight compared to the Galio. The Galio has an AoE taunt. The Aurelia it's more skill shot focused. She's more of a diver. There's more risk involved in that.
So theoretically, if it goes later, it should be good for JD. We just know them as a team, you know, like put in that pressure situation, EDG might be able to just outplay them and overwhelm them just in terms of how they play these fights. You know?
Yeah, EDG with the Gragas. This has been the #1 support for a lot of players here. Mako also went to the Asian Games alongside Ming, and after both of them came back, they said, Gragas is tier 1. You always lock this champion in when you have the chance.
That's true. So it's always funny when you have these other tournaments that come up. It's like a mini meta just evolves out there, and it's just like, all right, this is the best champion, I'll ship it. It comes back into the local league.
Honestly, Score was just too good on it.
Yeah.
That was the biggest decider. He controlled the early game. He was able to out-macro. Whenever you went to face check, he would just blow you back into his own team. So all of our supports picked it up.
That's true. You know what? I didn't get to see top lane Olaf at that tournament. And then that's why I wanted to come back into the LPL. Top lane Olaf. But we didn't get it, unfortunately. Right now, EDG setting up around Baron once again. JD pushing towards the area. Throws down a pink ward. Paro moving on to Zoom once again. But not really the prize target. This is the perfect face checker tool on.
EDG do have the majority of the vision around Baron Pit, but there's one crucial one that they didn't sweep out, and that one should be able to spot EDG if they do eventually turn onto the Baron. So JD Gaming, they definitely know that there's a trap being set right here.
Throws out the Chain of Corruption again, opening up into Zoom. Lots of CC coming down, but he's soaking all of this. Splits up the fight, Yagao with the ultimate, but now he's under attack as well. Not quite as tanky, and comes Clid, throws out the Vanguard's edge and into the backline. Loken goes real deep into 4 members. He's got a Zhonya's up, and the rest of the team trying to get around him, but Yagao can't do anything, and EDG are wiping out JD from the face of Summoner's Rift. 4 kills!
And it's a 1-for-4 sweep coming in from EDG. Loken trying to get the hero play straight into the back line, but iBoy already with the stopwatch ready. You are not going to take him out during that fight.
Unfortunate play coming out there from Loken. It felt like a bit of a speed in coming in from him because they just instantly collapsed in around him, dropped him like a ton of bricks, and EDG pick up the Baron for that and 4 kills.
You could see Yagao, he was trying so hard to salvage that situation, going forward, trying to get the taunts onto multiple members right there, but at the end, with your main damage dealer down, there's nothing you can do. EDG, they just go on the first target they can possibly find. It actually looks a bit hairy from here right now because they don't really have any damage onto the main carries. Now, iBoy is tagged out by the Prey Seeker. Loken thinks he has this opportunity, but Haru and Mako, they have so much crowd control still up for that play. Yagao goes in, he tries to save the situation, can't really equalize on the play. iBoy stays alive and he's able to clean house.
Oh man, Clement, I'm getting flashbacks from yesterday with Jackalope when he challenged Uzi to a 1v1 mid-team fight. Didn't work out for him, didn't work out for Loken. I could see what he was looking for right there, but look how instantaneously EDG turned around. We're watching that in slow motion, and everyone just turns around, looks at Loken while he's completely by his lonesome in the backlines, and collapses down on him. Cannot do that again, and JD firmly on the back foot now.
Definitely, like JD Gaming, they've set up a team where they can play front to back. They have great formations for it, but they need the AD carry in place to actually do that. A little bit too trigger happy going in among Mako, among Haru, who have platitudes of crowd control for that play.
In EDG, how much can get out of this? Corruption once again landing onto Yao. Locked up against the edge of the wall right there, but Ray's following through. Once again, the ultimate. Yagao can't move at all. So much damage coming through. The disengage is good from Zoom just to get his ally out of there, but cleared. He just cannot even break the shield now from Ray. And EDG are trying to do as much damage to this base as possible, sieging the mid lane.
Most importantly in that fight, Scout was able to zone out the back line of Loken and Lumao. They could not engage. They were split up. Scout would have instantly used his ultimate onto Loken if he tried to go onto that fight. So EDG, they get so many ultimates.
Re-engage, massive knockup coming out from Mao, the flank out from Clint as well. Not finding the punch with the Galio ultimate, but they've got the kill already. iBoy, can he take him out again? Scout down as he tries to defend the AD carry. And EDG pushed away from the offense. The damage dealers are Ray. Can he actually kill him? They're so tanky, but the rest of the team does not want to help him out. Kill him again. Zombie Ray is dead. 3 kills to JD.
And who would have expected that team fight to happen right there? EDG, they had a 2 ultimate advantage. Zoom already used the Ornhorn earlier on. You think that JD Gaming are going to back off and wait for their cooldowns, but that's not the Jing Dong way. They go straight back in for it.
The untiltable team throws out the ultimate, tries to buy a bit of time. Another Cloud Dragon going over to JD. They were wishing it would be in the Infernal that spawned for EDG, but they're still going to get multiple towers. Trying to catch out this pick now. On to Gragas. He's dead before he hits the ground.
And there's only one defender left for JD Gaming. Even though EDG took the Baron first, there's a good chance that JD Gaming are looking at Inhibitor next.
35 minutes and JD up against a Baron push coming out from EDG. Find the fight right at the doorstep of their base. Massive knockup coming out from Lumao.
A 3-man knockup from Lumao, and look at the follow-up engage. It was so beautiful. iBoy did not get any DPS down. He was in the air the entire time, and look at the positioning on the right side of the team fight. They're zoning Mako and Haru away from the team fight. The last time that EDG was using that terrain, they were the ones on the offensive. They were splitting up JD Gaming, and JD Gaming, they just learn tricks so fast. They're the new team. They got all that brain cell power. They just look at the position and like,
brain, man.
Hey, we're going to reverse this situation right now to our own advantage. I didn't expect that. You don't think that they're going to go in without their ultimates. They had no Ornhorn on it.
I mean, this is the type of stuff you're like, okay, JD, this is what you need to change from game 1 to game 2 if you want to come back in this series. But they just adapted within the course of, like, what, 2 minutes? Where they picked up Baron Siege mid and it's like, all right, I'm like the Borg, I'm just going to assimilate everything you're doing and counterpunch. And EDG, what happened to all that clean play that was happening in those team fights?
Just one slight overstep. Lumao getting on both carries at the same times was the death sentence for that fight. They really need to pay more attention to their positioning and try to at least make sure that Scout and iBoy are not going to be taken out with the same punch coming in from JD Gaming.
In a front-to-back right now, Clement, do EDG win? Because Kai'Sa has scaled. She's 4 items right now, got a bunch of kills off these last couple of team fights, and she will shred down these tanks. They're not a safe bastion now for iBoy.
I do think I give it to JD Gaming a little bit more right now. If you look at the Kai'Sa, she's also pretty fed. 5-1 in 3. Didn't have the best early game, but now she's a completely different monster. And It's pretty rare to see a team shift their identities so much. JD Gaming did play the Kaisa before, but you could tell it was not their main strategy coming into the playoffs. Only 2 selections during that 15-game run. A lot of the times, it was more about the Varus. It was more about the Ashe, the utility AD carries instead. And, you know, JD Gaming, when it comes down to the line where they're going up against EDG, this is their statement. Our biggest winning point will actually be the 5v5 team fight. We know EDG is a mid-game tempo team. You guys are really good early game as well. So we need a little bit more insurance later on.
You know, the analyst desk was saying that Yagao is kind of the jack of all trades. He's kind of a combination of scout and rookie put together. But it seems like that's kind of the case with JD as a team. You know, they kind of just do it all and they do a bit of it, but you don't know what's going to come out of them. So it's so unpredictable that it's difficult to say, well, this is how they're going to play out the game, because they might even change their colors 35 minutes into the game. We kind of saw that right then. Now we're waiting on major monster objectives. 1 minute until this Baron, and the Elders will be up in about 4 or 5 minutes from now. And suddenly, JD, this is a dead-on-even game.
The big thing that EDG have right now are those summoners on iBoy. And if you look at the map control, EDG still reigns supreme. If they can find another pick like they did in the mid lane, perhaps they could reverse the comeback, the surging JD Gaming, the challengers against the old guard coming in here.
It's possible for now. We're just trying to get all the items we can, get ready for that potential final fight. Loken's full build, by the way. He just picked up his Zhonya's Hourglass and is just ready to go.
Yeah, you could see JD Gaming, they traded a lot of their early map control just to make sure that Loken was able to scale up. We were talking about JD Gaming, they're going to go in on this top tower, they're going to go in. They didn't do it. They actually traded the bot tower instead just to give Loken a bit more time to get him on those items. And now they're here.
Initiating into the mid lane to find 4 members here of EDG. Triple Locker comes out, and there's the Galio's entrance as well. Massive taunt going through from Yagao, and EDG can't even fight back right now. iBoy's down. Skelt's about to follow. Cass comes through, and EDG are trying their hard out to try and turn this fight, but JD are relentless as they chase them down. Carrie's dead, and Tank's the only ones remaining. Haro about to fall, and Ray trying to stall out time, but JD have won the fight.
A massive re-engage coming from JD Gaming. Once the 6th item hit on Kaisa, they knew that it was their time to go in. EDG, even with the 5-man present, they couldn't keep iBoy alive. The damage was too fast, and now Clid is just trying to finish off Sion. He has that Triforce. He is a damage dealer.
Yeah, he's trying to kill him. It will probably take another 20 seconds to make this happen. He's going to get his shield back in a second. Wonderful, but he's stopping him from moving towards the Baron, and that's what counts. JD are going to get themselves this one, and that is finally the ace coming through for JD.
And then unfortunately for that fight, I really want to wait for the replay on that, but I felt Haro just threw his ultimate a little bit too fast. Loken was able to dodge out on the glacial prison with just an E, with just a supercharge. She was stealth and she was able to walk away. So a giant AoE ultimate not being there for EDG, and it really opens up the backline for the initiation coming in from JD Gaming. It was a rotation of damage onto iBoy first, and then Yagao simply followed up.
One shot, one opportunity, fires over the wall. Not gonna happen today. No level up on the Baron there, folks.
I think all of us are trained to be so worried about that right now, but let's go straight into the team fight. Loken once again goes straight in, but this is what I was talking about. EDG, they're a bit too trigger happy. They actually throw 2 ultimates onto Loken. They get nothing for it, and iBoy is just left to die right there. There's no frontline protecting him, and even though Scout was trying to salvage the fight, he does get Loken in the end. The initial start of the fight was played way too carelessly by EDG. I felt like they were having the jitters. They were startled by JD Gaming. They just couldn't believe their eyes. Loken flying in 1v5 into that position, and their first instinct was to throw everything on him.
Now they're trying to take the initiative. EDG looking towards Lumao, but he'll back away instantly right there. JD leading the charge towards Elder Dragon that has now spawned, and EDG, they see one last opportunity for themselves to salvage this game.
They do have a pushing topside wave right there, and it is going to force JD Gaming's Yagao to deal with it. EDG do have a chance right now.
They're going to try. Zoom backing away. He doesn't want to initiate just yet, but it seems like when they get the priority, JD are just so strong in these fights.
EDG are definitely aware of what happened in the last team fight. They're waiting for their ultimates to come back up again. Maybe not.
Haro pushing up. Ray comes in. It's only the front lines knocking heads right now. Yagao, you can see him in the back waiting for the opportunity to throw out the ultimate. Ornhorn comes in. The blade cage is good, but Loken once again into the back, follows through with the Galio, buys time with his on his hourglass, and the knockup is huge coming in from JD. Mako hits the dust, and Loken is going to town. Haro cannot take him out. 1 versus 1, make that 1 versus 4.
And it's going to be a clean wipe. There's only one member left for EDG. JD Gaming are pushing straight into the base. Once again with the team fight positioning. iBoy just can't get any sunlight to deal damage right there. JD Gaming.
He doesn't need to kill, he just needs to stop the recall because JD are onto the base. And here they go. JD come out of the gate swinging, and they'll take game 1.
And they do so with the team fighting superiority over EDG. It came down to the late game 5v5s, and they just had such better coordination. In that last team fight, you could see that the front lines from EDG were actually stuck behind a wall. They could not get to iBoy. He was effectively with the damage dealers getting caught into a single death trap where Yagao was on one side and Loken was already closing up the trap from the other side as well. This is just the 5v5 overpowering coming in from JD Gaming.
It was 2 fights in a row where the front line just couldn't do anything. They were locked up, and this time Loken launching himself into the backside when he had the Zoni's hourglass and the Galio jumping on top of him. I could see the play, he could see the play. JD demolished EDG in 2 team fights when it hit late game.
And just look at that gold graph right there. EDG was in control the majority of the time, but their picks couldn't propel them ahead. The most they ever got was only 7.3K, and in 2 team fights that completely was erased. I have to give it to JD Gaming. I think their front line outplayed EDG massively. EDG did not have the tanks in place, they did not have the crowd control in place, and they just left iBoy in vulnerable positions so many times.
The amount of improvement that I've seen out of JD over the player front by itself moving into the regional gauntlet is just pure insanity. I mean, they could play a potential up of 5 best-of-5s. They have that 1-point advantage coming into first round, so it's not going to be 25 games, but it's like 23 games potentially coming in for a run if you want to try and make worlds. That's ridiculous. How do you even find time to adapt and find new strategies? The onus should be on someone like EDG, just like, well, I get to see all of these games come out for them, but somehow they keep bringing out new abilities, new tactics, and the fact that they have grown to a point where they can come back in games as well is the most interesting thing to me here from JD.
Definitely, and it's all about the execution for them as well. You've never seen that type of team fight. You don't expect it, and they really did catch EDG off guard right there.
Fantastic stuff coming in from JD, taking game 1 in this best-of-5. For now, though, we're going to send it back to the analyst desk.
JD Gaming with the repeat performance, and I would like to reenact a specific moment in that game. Raz, how did that chase go down? The Xin Zhao and the Scion just
it was definitely just a lot of spearing. It was just, I don't understand
the
what
first
it
time
takes to take them down.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every single time.
Every time.
But again, we got to start at the beginning for this matchup because JD Gaming with the victory. Things didn't look great for them at the start of the game. You saw the gold graph. It was in favor of EDG for the duration of the entire matchup, but JD Gaming never looked too plussed by that.
And you have to really understand kind of these teams' play styles to recognize that this is exactly how it was always going to go. Now, Edward Gaming, in the same vein that we say it's kind of 25 minutes or bust for Invictus Gaming, it's the same for EDG. They're a very mid-game tempo-based team. They like to have champions that power spike on 2 items. They come into the first initial 5v5. They win that, they grab Baron, they close out the game. If you take them past that point to 30, 35 minutes, they cannot team fight as well as they once did. You know, 2014, they used to dominate the 5v5. It is no longer that. It's 4 years later, and JD Gaming proved themselves that they are the better team fighters, and that's how you beat EDG. So JDG, understanding that, love the point that Clement made on the desk, have the late game insurance policies like the Kaisa and just say, it's fine. We'll survive 20 minutes of this and just see it 30.
That being said, I like the steps that EDG are taking. I think this is a very strong preparation that they had for the first 9 minutes of the game. That EDG, not only did they successfully counter-gank top lane and stop Clint in his tracks, they allowed for this play to happen. Level 5 on the Alistar. He could not defend himself.
And the reason why Lumao is level 5 is going back to what Scout did when he made his initial back. He feigned bottom a pressure valve game, and it forced Lumao to go scout for the Aurelia, stepping away from the tower and missing the experience. So when we talk about, you know, Edward Gaming and JDG being playbook teams, how how they plan, 3 minutes, 5 minutes in advance. That's a perfect example of it. They managed to play the pressure game. They forced the support off the tower. Mako says, I'm going to have ultimate before this guy. We can set up for a dive here.
And there's so much that they got from that, because not only did they go bottom lane and be able to take so much from just the kills, a bit of the tower as well, they have planned for going top side. They know that they had the winning top side of the match just because of the earlier counter gank, and that Aurelia was doing so well there. And all of that resulted in the Rift Herald, where EDG were able to just spiral that game into a really large early gold lead.
Yeah, and that's where you have to look at the advantage coming towards that Baron part of the map, where things become significantly more dangerous after 20 minutes when that Baron spawns. It was 4 turrets to 1. EDG had the momentum. They were pushing towards those inner turrets. They recalled the setup vision, but JD identified the upcoming play and set a trap of their own.
22 minutes. This was so well done from JDG that they were able to get this across.
Oh, that crazy play from Lumao. Raz, when you and I first saw it, we just lost our minds. I cannot believe he got the pulverize and then the flash animation. Usually you do the flash into the pulverize. You can do it the other way, but much smaller windows and frames to play around. And you almost basically have to predict the way that the guy is going to flash. He finds the prediction that killed the jungler. It didn't snowball into a Baron there, but credit where it's due, that was super impressive.
Steps ahead, and that was basically 2 plays in succession, 2 minutes in between, where you were right. It happened around Baron. EDG understood they needed to play around that side of the map, so they were actually pivoting around mid lane as a squad so they can get push on mid lane. While Aurelia was pushing top side, JDG were prepared for that, and that's why they were able to get the game back for themselves.
And that's why we have to celebrate, saying that JD Gaming is also a set play team. The first 20 minutes might have been a bit scary because they didn't show us any of those trademark set plays, but they were just waiting for the right moment, waiting for EDG to leave an opening. But EDG wasn't out of the game just yet.
Yeah, and it is something that's very unique about JDG. And usually when you see a team this young, they're not as coordinated to identify those plays. Now, looking back at these team fights, I believe this is the one where Loken goes in.
Yeah.
You can see what he wanted to do. And Dom, you called it out. If he had stopwatched right as the CC comes down there, before he stopwatches there, it probably would have been fine. That's the type of play that Uzi makes it, but he places the stopwatch better, and he actually comes up the hero mode. Loken, bit delayed on the stopwatch, gets hit by the CC, and then just dies.
And in this situation, you have to wait, but this was massive from Lumao because this was positioning that EDG were getting to threaten on the inhibitor tower. 3-man knockup, isolate iBoy, take him out early. And so JDG, when they're behind in Temple, when the team is starting to roll at them, they are so willing to just push the button and fight.
Yeah, they identify moment to moment exactly what needs to be done in the game. And the big change, as yes, man of the match Lumao 100% agree, the biggest change that JDG made from kind of their mediocre split to now this meteoric rise was in the coaching staff. Yeah, they grabbed a couple of new players, but they really rounded out their coaching staff, grabbing Team WE's coach, Coach Ohm, from the semifinalists at Worlds, bringing him onto the squad, and they're just a very practiced, refined team. It's almost like, I like to talk about them in the same breath as kind of the Afrika Freaks, and where you watch Afrika and you feel like they've just been drilled into kind of this obedience and this structure. JDG remind me a lot of that, where it's like, okay, what's happening? They're setting up for Baron. What did our coach tell us to do? Okay, we got to go up to the top lane. We got to place our vision. It's just very formula.
Yeah, and cohesion is the big one, that they play so well together. You still get the style of Spirit and Afrika Freaks. That's why you get the style of Clid, Yagao, Zoom. That's why we're seeing so much confidence in some of these players. Loken coming out with Kaisa, Vayne throughout the playoffs as well, that they can still do their own thing, but now they understand the impact of playing together.
And now to come back to what we talked about before the game, and in fact was not a Dumpling Brothers dictated game with Zoom and Yagao. It was a space creation game for Loken, which put the ball into Scout's court. If Aurelia could get onto the Kaisa, as we saw in some of those team fights, EDG were winning. But it was more than that. Obviously, EDG needed the momentum to actually finish through the rest of the team fight once they killed that Kaisa.
Yeah, that's the issue here, is that I think Scout was actually playing these team fights very well. That's why some of the team fights were actually working well in favor of EDG. It was only until 5-6 items coming through from, from Loken that he's able to clean out on the tanks easily. That he doesn't really care about the magic resist being built up because he has the Void Staff. That was the real issue for EDG.
And what's crazy for me is now the mind game. Because, again, we talked about where these maps should be split. JDG should have dominance on top side of the map, whereas Edward Gaming should completely control bot side. It happened at 9 minutes, but the fact that JDG now feel confident that they can put power into Loken and beat EDG where they're supposed to be strong, like that can shake the mental fortitude when you go backstage.
Well, again, this is one of the winningest teams in the history of the LPL, but we've got Game 2 coming at you in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. The LPL is going to be right back.